This is the Triumph Scrambler 1200 XE, and we are going to give it a full and thorough review as we always do. Now, the XE version is very similar to the Triumph Scrambler XC, except the XE has a little bit more suspension, so it's a bit taller, and the swing arm here is about that much longer than the XC. Now, if you watch back on our videos a little while ago, we did a video about tall people and motorcycles, and one of my suggestions is why don't they have a base bike and offer an extended swing arm to lengthen the wheelbase and a bit more suspension, and here it is. Triumph have done just that. Now, they've done it in a small amount. If they'd have taken that one step further and perhaps lengthened the swing arm by 3 or 4 inches and maybe the suspension by another couple of inches, you'd have built the ultimate tall guy bike. So you could say we're the first manufacturer to make a motorcycle for people who are 6'3" plus. One of our subscribers is 6'9", so even on this version it's still going to look a bit small, but with a nice long wheelbase it gives you stability, it visually looks better, and you're going to get the sort of aesthetics for a taller person.
This bike is equipped with the 1200cc liquid-cooled parallel twin, which you see in a lot of the other Triumph models, but of course they're tuned slightly differently. This one in particular produces 89 brake horsepower. That's its peak power at 7,400 RPM. That's also 90 PS or 66.2 kilowatts. And it produces its peak torque, which is 110 Newton meters at 3,950 RPM.
Now, the bike has a wheelbase of 1,570 millimeters and a rake of 26.9 degrees and a trail of 129.2 millimeters. That, combined with the size of the wheels, the tyres, the height, etc., make for a very, very quick steering bike. And it seems to me that Triumph are always on that fine line where quick steering compromises stability. So if you like, a cruiser is over here with ultimate stability and a sort of commanding, confidence-inspiring ride, and Triumph are on the other end trying to get that fine line between quick steering with just enough stability to be rideable. So this is kind of on that end of the spectrum. It's a very quick steering bike, so if you like that, it's going to be fabulous. But that does give you less feeling of security and stability. Now, one of the feelings you get from that sort of geometry, you could call it twitchy steering, where a little movement normally makes a nice smooth transition, but on this it's so quick that I would say it's on the borderline of being twitchy. Some people like that handling characteristic. Personally, I prefer more stable geometry.
So you've got a 21-inch front wheel and a 17-inch back one. And while we're on that topic, the tyres that it comes with are very much road biased. If you're going to do a lot of off-road riding, these will be okay in dry weather, but if you're in England, it's mostly wet. So wet English byways, you know, lots of mud, wet grass, these tyres don't really give you any grip at all. But you know, any off-road bike's only as good as the tyres it comes with. So you would need to change to some knobbly tyres if you're going to be doing mainly off-road riding.
Now, this 1200cc engine is the same engine you get on all the modern classic Triumphs, and depending on the model they vary how it performs, and by basically the compression ratio and by the engine mapping. So this is mapped more as a sort of off-road motorcycle, where some of the others are more for road use. But saying that, off-road, you don't need a lot of power and a lot of torque. So really, if you were totally into green laning and that was your only thing, and you just needed to get there on the road, you'd be better off with a smaller capacity bike, really, of a, say, 450 or even a 250cc, because the other thing is a bigger engine's a heavier motorcycle.
So the XE has 47mm upside down forks, and they come in this anodized gold colour, which every manufacturer seems to be going for at the minute. It's like a trend. But I think personally we think it would look better in silver. It would go with the colours of the bike more. But that just seems to be, I don't know whether that's what people want, but that's what every manufacturer's doing at the minute. They've got 250mm of travel, as opposed to the XC version that's got 200mm of travel, and you've also got adjustable twin shocks on the rear, and they've also got 250mm of travel.
So one of the things manufacturers do, and they all do it, is they give you the riding mode. So you change it to off-road mode to give you the sort of engine characteristics that are more suited to off-road riding. And that'll be the same with an adventure bike. And if you were thinking between this and an adventure bike, well, personally, I think this is far better looking. Personally, adventure bikes to me are the most ugly motorcycles on the road. I don't like them at all. This looks beautiful. So you could actually use it as an adventure bike, and I'm sure I know there are luggage options for it, and there's various accessories, many accessories for this bike. So you could sort of get it to be what you want it to be. Now, if you watch our channel and you've seen some of our other videos, you'll know that we're not particularly a big fan of modes. And the main reason for that is, as I've said in other videos, if you get used to the bike in one mode and then you change to another mode, say you're used to it in normal, and then you go into sport, it becomes much more responsive, and that sometimes can catch you out, and the bike, it can be a bit more mental, if you like. So that's one of the reasons we don't like modes. And another subscriber commented recently that you may inadvertently change to another mode and not realise and open up the throttle, and suddenly you're in sport when you thought you were in rain. So there is a bit of an issue with modes. But saying that, when you change the modes on this, it doesn't alter the characteristics of the bike that noticeably. And we tried it in all the different modes, and we did some riding on the grass, and we put it in Off-Road Pro, which is supposed to turn the traction control off. But as you'll see, it came in pretty hard, so it didn't let us move very far. So if you're on very slippery grass, you'd have to sort of play with the settings, because we couldn't get the bike to move along at all.
The Triumph Scrambler XE starts at £12,300. Of course, depends what optional extras you go for as to how much it will cost you. So as we mentioned earlier, this bike's got numerous modes, of which are rain, road, off-road, off-road pro. It's also got sport mode, and then there's a rider customizable mode. So after you've spent a bit of time with the bike and you know what you like, you can customize the mode to make the bike how you like it.
Now, this Triumph comes with the Extreme Inspiration kit, which basically the main thing you notice is the higher front mudguard. You've got the Arrow exhaust, you've got a different light set up with the indicators at the back, and you've got this guard down here, which is a little close to me. I keep kicking it with my feet because I've got massive feet. You've also got the headlight bezel and a guard on the front there, which makes it quite hard to clean actually. And you've also got the side stand base extension, which gives you a fatter side stand so it doesn't sink into the mud if you park it off-road. It also has the machined oil filler cap and this black handlebar brace. I'd recommend that kit because it looks really nice.
The XE's got a seat height of 870mm, and I'm about 6'2", and as you can see, there's plenty of room on the bike for me. The old man's around 6'3", and there's plenty of room for him as well. So it's much more suited for taller riders. If you're not so tall, you'd probably want to go for the XC version.
Now, as you'll notice, I'm wearing one of our new designs. This will be live by the time the video goes up. We have got this already on for the darker colour shirts, but this one's for the design especially for the white, and it's got a very nice back print, as you can see. My one is personalised to me, being test rider, but the back print will be a little bit different, but the front will be the same. So these are really lovely quality. I love this long sleeve. I'm 6'3". This is a 2XL. I go to the gym, so you can gauge from me what size to get, but the sizing's very accurate.
I'm wearing one of our new designs on a hoodie. I really like this design. It's also in t-shirts, it's in sweatshirt as well. We're going to have lots more long sleeves and hoodies and stuff. As it's winter, it's cold, so it'll be really nice. It's also got a really nice back print on it as well. Furthermore, on the topic of the seat, it's got a bench seat, which is really nice because it means you can move around on the seat. A lot of adventure bikes have got a step seat where it restricts you from moving backwards, especially off-road. That's a restricting factor, so full marks on this seat. Now, it's got a 16-litre fuel tank and it does 4.9 litres per 100 kilometres or 58 miles per gallon. If you're going to be doing a lot of off-roading with this bike, it's important to note that it's quite hard to clean. This has the accessory guard on the radiator, and although it does protect the radiator, when the mud does get through, it's harder to clean to get it out. And this is quite a condensed engine. There's quite a lot stuffed into the package, so it's quite hard to get in and behind everything to get all the dirt out. This weighs 207 kilograms. In road bike terms, that's pretty average for a bike of this capacity. In off-road terms, it's quite heavy. And I'd say this bike's more of a road bike that's got a little bit of off-road capability rather than an off-road bike that's all right on the road. If you are looking at this bike, you might also be looking at an adventure bike. It's important to note that if you are only going to do commuting and the odd bit of off-roading, you're much better off with something like this. It's a better looking bike and it would be a lot more fun to do that. If you want to do a 10,000 mile journey across Africa, then get an adventure bike. But I think most people who do have them don't do that on them. Another feature to mention, this bike's got tubeless tyres, so you've got no inner tube. And that's why the rims look slightly different. You can see the spokes are laid around the edge of the rim. We try our best not to mention too many figures. You can get all the figures on the Triumph's website. If we said all the figures, we'd end up being here for 50 minutes. So we give you the outlining main figures. But the brakes on this bike, you've got twin disc at the front and a single at the back. They're made by Brembo and they are actually really, really good. If you do pull really hard, you can feel the ABS working as well, so top marks on the brakes. And we've just had to switch over to the old mic because the new one that we've got has just gone flat. We've used it for about 7 videos and the old man's forgot to charge it. But it's not too windy today, so hopefully you shouldn't hear any wind noise. Just want to say about the exhaust, it does get quite hot, so on a cold day today, like today, in the UK it's very cold in the winter, we quite enjoyed it. It keeps you warm, but in the summer when it's hot or in a hotter country, it's probably not going to be a nice thing for it to be that hot. On the sound of it, it does sound, gives you a nice tone. It's not very loud, but it's got to comply with the regulations. It's got heated grips, cruise control and a USB socket as standard. And it's really nice to have these heated grips on a really cold day like today, or pretty much every day in this time of year. That's a really nice feature to have. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. We're setting a goal to get 20,000 subscribers by the end of the year. It is possible if you guys push it and make sure it happens. Make sure you leave a like on the video, leave your comments below what you think of this bike. If you've ridden one before, let us know what you thought. And we've also got lots more bikes coming up. We've got more Triumphs in the lineup, and we're in a very good position to get all of the new bikes next year for 2021 from all the manufacturers. So make sure you stay tuned for that.